Hello and welcome to America's Veterans. My name is Len Sorotsky and I will be your host. Korea is a peninsula. It could fit inside of our state of Minnesota. It is one of the world's oldest nations with recorded history dating back 12 centuries BC. One theory is that it was people from Korea who crossed the land bridge to America and were the predecessors of the American Indians. The Korean War began in 1950, less than 5 years after the end of World War II. In 1943, FDR, Winston Churchill, and the Chinese nationalist leader Chiang Kai-shek met at the Cairo Conference. Russia did not attend. Among other things, these leaders promised that Korea would have independence at war's end. The USSR opposed one nation on the peninsula, so in 1948, two nations were created, separated by the 38th parallel. Russian troops were in the north, American troops were in the south, but ultimately they were all withdrawn. Syngman Rhee was the president of the south and the ruler Kim Il-sung of the north. Each wanted to form one nation. President Rhee let it be known that he intended to invade the North. But on June 25, 1950, the North invaded the South. President Truman immediately ordered U.S. troops to assist the South. 4 days later, we were in Korea, June 29, 1950. We had help from as many as 41 nations. Some 380,000 Chinese soldiers came screaming across the border in October 1950 to assist the North Koreans. Most of what people learned about the war came from the long-running TV show MASH. We heard about things and places like Busan Perimeter, Chosin, Panmunjom, Incheon Landing, Pork Chop Hill, and Daejeon, the place where the North Koreans tied the arms of more than 7,000 civilians and military, including Americans, and shot them all. The Korean War was the first time that jet fighters fought each other in the skies. We bombed Pyongyang on August 28, 1952, and used 1,403 aircraft in the raid. The war went up and down the peninsula, and our commander, General Douglas MacArthur, wanted to chase the Chinese soldiers back to China, and he made it perfectly clear that he would go north of the Yalu River and would use atomic bombs as necessary. President Truman fired him in April of 1951. A Russian delegate to the United Nations proposed a ceasefire on June 23, 1951. Negotiations began, and they lasted for 2 years. An armistice was finally signed on July 27, 1953, at the place it all began, the 38th parallel. And now, please let me introduce our special guest for today, Jean Brignac, a Korean War veteran. And Jean, thank you for coming to our show today.
Well, it's my pleasure, and I don't know how you could have anything more pleasurable than to sit here at the table with such an esteemed person as you.
That's true, yeah. That's a good point. I need to know where you were born. Tell me where was original home?
Okay, it originally was a place called French Settlement, Louisiana. I was born in New Orleans, and that was back in the dark ages. You know, I was born at home. You know, so,
well, you should have been, because otherwise people would see you.
That's right.
Yeah. So you're born.
I didn't want people to see me in my birthday suit when I was born. No.
No. So how long did you stay at Frenchman's Landing?
Frenchman's Landing.
Did I say it wrong? French Settlement.
French Settlement.
Yes, I got them mixed up.
Well, my mom at that time, she got somewhat unhappy with my dad, so she took me up to the Washington, D.C. area when I was about 5 years old, I think it was. Mm-hmm. So,
okay.
And life began there.
And so how long did you stay in that area then?
Ooh, I was there let's see, all through the years till I was about 16 when I went back to French settlement for a while.
And did you go back to school at French settlement?
Oh, no, I did my school up in D.C. area. We lived in a place called Greenbelt, which was just a little dot on the map at that time.
Yeah.
And the school was about a mile out of town, and it was in the wilderness. There was nothing but woods all around, and it was just woods from Greenbelt up to where the school was. And today, that area is like 4-lane highways, when back then it was just a little 2-lane blacktop road, and it was fun back there in the woods.
Yeah.
We managed to use that to our advantage to play with the mischief. Yeah, we would go out and at lunchtime and catch some lizards. And when we came back from lunch, our first class after lunch, we were next door to the girls' home ec. And there was a door between the two classrooms, and there was a gap about like that under the door. And we used to shove those lizards under there. And it didn't take long till you heard a lot of screaming and banging around and carrying on, and we delighted in doing that. And
you just sat there and said, "What's that all about?"
Who, me? No.
So tell us about how you transitioned from your school years into the military. How did that happen?
Well, as I said, I went back to French settlement when I was about 16. And about a year later, I guess I got tired of the swamp, so I went to the Army. Got into a bigger swamp.
Yeah. Where did you enlist? Do you remember that?
Yes, it was in French settlement.
Oh, right in French settlement.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, they sent me to Nashville for processing. And from there, they sent me to Fort Jackson for basic training. And after basic training, they sent me across the big water to a place called Korea.
Yeah.
I was 17 years old at the time.
Had you ever heard of Korea?
No.
No. Not many people did.
No.
As a matter
They
of
still
fact,
don't.
It's just a little tiny, it's really a tiny peninsula, but yeah. So, okay, you went in the Army, you got over to Korea in a hurry. Can you then start telling us about your tour? What happened?
Okay, I stayed in a hurry when I was over there. I mean, I didn't slow down because you got, you never know when something's going to happen.
Sure.
But I guess some of the most memorable things over there was the Koreans. They grow a lot of rice. You know, they have these rice paddies.
Yes, they do.
And for fertilizer, they use all the excrement they can find.
Yes.
And they have a big hole at the edge of the rice paddy where they store this stuff. And of course, it starts to ferment and stink and smell horrible. And we called them honey wells. And so they would have these little long sticks with a cup on the end. They'd dip it on there and go out into the field and sprinkle that on the rice paddies. And so we called that their honey dipper. So,
did you ever drink any water from the rice paddies?
Absolutely not.
No, unfortunately, some guys did and came up with all kinds of diseases.
Oh, yeah, there was one disease that occurred over there that we knew nothing about. And when they examined you to leave, to go back home, if you had that disease, you were stuck in Korea because they had no way to let you back in this country with something they didn't know anything about. So,
before you went to Korea, do you have any idea how many injections they gave you? How many injections the Army gave you?
No, it happened so quick. You walk down this line, and they've got a corpsman on each side, and they go bang, 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 in each arm. And the guy in front of me, he hesitated before moving on, and he got it twice. Yeah. So, man, the minute they pop you, I'm out of there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, but the intent was to try to prevent some of the diseases that were.
Oh yes, I think it's the same today. If you're going to, go overseas to certain places, you got to have certain inoculations. Sure. So,
but what year was it when you got to Korea? You remember?
When I got to Korea, it was 52.
52. Yeah. So just for the audience, even though they were working on an armistice, the fighting went on. I mean, they still.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We fought heavily during that time. Right. Yeah. In fact, the unit I was with, the 2nd Battalion of the 38th Infantry, was part of the 2nd Division. There was a real nuisance out there called Old Baldy. And it was called Old Baldy because it had been hammered so hard, on and off and on and off, and
it was nothing left.
It was. But those Chinese, man, they managed to keep buried in that thing, and you just could not do nothing with it. And our unit was the one that actually finally captured that, and the 2nd Division commander gave our unit a special unit citation for that.
Huh. Wow.
It was a skull with an arrow through it.
Yes, right through the eye.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So the Americans were pretty tough, wouldn't you say? In terms of
we were at that
fighting?
time.
Yeah,
we were rough and tough.
Doing it all. How about food? While you were on the move, do you remember any of the food you ate?
What food? No,
or didn't eat.
I try not to remember that stuff, but it was known as sea rations, and they were escapees from the Second World War, so they were pretty old things.
Oh, geez, so they were brought to you in a can.
No, they came in a little package, and you had a little package of a biscuit, they called it, but you could hammer nails with that thing, and they had the main entree was in a can, and we would try to swap back and forth because let's see, there was one that nobody really liked. It was what I think it was chicken or something like that. Nobody wanted it. But if you could get the beanie weenies things, the pork and beans with the little chopped up hot dog things in there. I mean, that was great if you got that. I mean, you were really.
But there was no McDonald's in the area, I take it.
Any who?
McDonald's? I'm kidding you, for Christ.
Oh. Yeah, there was some McDonald's.
Yeah.
I mean, there was Arthur McDonald, and there was John McDonald, and there was Sam McDonald. Yeah, we had McDonald's over there.
Right. Yeah. And then, unfortunately, along the way, you were wounded.
Oh, yes.
Wounds have two sides. One, you say owie when you get the wound, but it does get you home, too.
No, it didn't get me home.
No.
No.
So you resuited? You want to say anything about that?
Yeah, they, of course, it was a hunk of shrapnel from an artillery round, and I really didn't realize anything till it felt like my butt was on fire. And they took me down to the aid station, and they all laughed at me down there. They said, "Hey, look at him, yeah." And I mean, they don't care, those guys. They ridicule you and insult you and talk about the big scar in your butt and all that stuff. Man, those guys, they weren't like MASH, no.
Were you aware that there was a thing called MASH?
No. They sent me back to a rear area hospital to recuperate, and it was a pretty neat place. It was right on a lake, and it was a nice environment there, and I was there recuperating for a while, but all I knew was a hospital. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. So after you recuperated, what happened then? What was next?
Went back into what I was doing before.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Slogging around out there, and there's a little anecdote there where we managed to be positioned next to the Turks. Now those guys are wicked. I'll tell you, back in those days, I mean, they were bad. And the Chinese were scared to death of them, because what they did is they would chop the ear off when they'd get you. And they had them ears hanging all on their belt, you know, and the Chinese were scared to death of them. They had them little, curved swords, but they're only about that long. Yeah. And it was a riot. They'd go out there at nighttime on patrol, and they'd be smoking and clanging around and making all kind of racket, you know, and we'd be over there talking to them, when we had a chance. And they said, "You Americans, you crazy. You go out there in the dark and you sneak around and you surprise somebody. You got no choice but to fight them. But with us, they hear us coming and they run." So that was a little thing about the Turks.
When the Chinese came over, and there were so many thousands of them. Oh. And they would come and just wave after wave after wave. And many of their soldiers didn't even have weapons. They didn't have rifles, for example.
No.
They waited until the guy in front of them was killed, and then they would take his rifle. And,
they would come up the hillside toward our position in big waves, and we just cut them down like cordwood, and they just keep coming.
They keep coming.
And the guy next to me says, "Man, didn't we kill that one last week?" I mean, there was just no end to them. It just kept coming and kept coming.
Yeah. And we should point out, or just remember, that China had its own revolution the year before the Korean War, 1949.
I didn't know that.
Well, then I'll teach you.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not teachable.
Yeah. China had a revolution, and we had supported Chiang Kai-shek all the way through World War II, but at the end of the war, we kind of stopped supporting him. And the communists, Mao and the guys, took over China. And so that was, I mean, if you can imagine all that going on at the same time. China just got its independence, and now they were going to help the North Koreans, and they didn't have many weapons and that kind of stuff. They came only with light stuff, anything they could carry on their back. That's it, but no heavy stuff in there.
Well, that's interesting. It's just, like I mentioned earlier, that I'm unteachable. Well, my wife Barbara, she will attest to that. She says that I'm really unteachable. But if it weren't for her, and of course she's retired from 40 years of nursing, and if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be sitting here today, because I actually died there at the house. Yeah. And if she had not been there, I would have died. Yeah.
Well, I think you did, but.
Yeah, I know. I look like the Walking Dead.
But I'm still in Korea. I'm not with your wife, Barbara.
I know you're not. You better not be either.
No, but Korea.
Okay.
After.
But I have to mention that, because I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for her.
I know that. Okay. We were going to talk about that.
Okay, we can.
In a couple minutes.
I mean,
okay.
We can talk about Barbara all day long.
I want to get you out of Korea first.
No, I liked it over there.
Did you?
I did. When time you go, I told the guys, I says, boy, I sure hate to leave this place. I really hate to leave this place. But somehow I hate to stay more than I hate to leave.
Yeah. So you got out. Do you remember coming home?
Just very, very vaguely. I remember the ride over to Korea, but the ride back, I don't have really much recollection of that. I know we came back at Seattle, and
aboard a U.S. Navy ship.
Oh yes, no stabilizers. It was rocking and rolling.
It's better to get sick. Yeah.
Well, I didn't get sick, but a lot of them did.
Good.
You know?
Yeah.
And we'd have a dining area that was a long steel table, and I guess it must have been about 10 feet long. And we'd sit on each side of the table, and you had a typical military tray that they served the food in, and the ship would rock and the trays would all go that way. And then the ship would rock and the trays would come back, and you try to grab yours on the way by. And that was the life, coming back and going over both. You know, I want to going over yet. It was a big storm we went through. And that was really, really tough.
But you came home before the armistice, right? Was the war still going on, or was, do you remember that?
Yes, I came back in...
Probably 53, must have.
Let's see, 50. I was there 16 months from about...
okay, so
about September of 52 to 16 months later, I came home.
Okay. Wow. So you were out, you were a civilian again. And,
well, sort of.
Sort of. and can you tell us what happened after you got back home? And did you get, tell us about the first job that you liked when you got home. Because you had to go to work, probably.
Well.
Or something.
Yeah,
but I mean the one you remember that you liked.
It was, well, that period of time is really not a good...
Skip it.
Good period in my life. And
yeah.
There was some bad stuff going on.
Bad stuff,
but,
yeah. But sooner or later you got, I mean, look at you now. You wouldn't have made it to your current age of 62, I think you said?
42.
Yeah, 42.
Yeah, I've had a rough life, you know, so that's why I look so bad.
No, you look good.
For 42?
Yeah.
You think I look good for 42?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
But you did so many different kinds of things.
I did.
You worked. I know one thing you did is you got to work with ABC.
That was the first thing I did. As soon as I got back, I went to work at ABC.
And you spent 15 years. Mm-hmm. And what did you do for ABC?
I was a senior video engineer.
A senior who?
Video engineer.
Video.
V-I-D-E-O. You know, it has to do with pictures.
Video, yeah.
Yes.
I do, yeah. That's
okay.
Good.
I just want to teach you that.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
I have no idea what it is, what a video engineer does.
Well, I make the people look natural that's on the set during the program, you know, and it's my choice to make them look normal, or make them blue, make them green, you know. and I used to do a little bit of stuff like that, you know, and the director would come unglued, you know, screaming and yelling all over the headset. And I said, well, must be your monitor because it looks good back here.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, that was...
Yeah. Well, and then you got into... I don't know if this was at the same time before or after, but you also worked with Motorola for a while?
I did. That was actually about a year before ABC.
Oh, okay. Oh, so I'm sorry. I thought that came later.
No.
All right.
But, you know, it's all kind of bad stuff back in there. So the only really thing that happened was my life was in such a shambles that I was attending this church in St. Louis, and the pastor was Dr. Jesse Ford. I remember that, and he helped me a good bit. And
a little louder.
Louder?
Yeah, I couldn't hear.
Well,
I have bad hearing.
Hey, you want to use this here?
No.
You know, that'll help.
But you're liable to tip over with, you know.
I would.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm back in Greenbelt about that time, which, you know, I spent most of my early life. And lo and behold, there was a Washington Bible College had just been established outside of Greenbelt, and I discovered that Dr. Ford was there on his staff, and so I wound up going to him and just pouring out everything. I just could not go anymore. So he managed to lead me to the Lord, and the minute I became part of God's family, things began to get a little bit better, and that's when I wound up coming down to Florida to help my mom. She was having a big bunch of problems with my stepfather, so I came down to help her, and I just stayed.
Mm-hmm. And what part of Florida?
Bradenton.
So that's where you came. So you've been here for a while.
Bradentown.
Yeah, Bradentown.
Bradentown, yeah.
That was good.
Yeah, like 35 years maybe.
Yeah. And then along the trail, you met this chick named Barbara.
I did. I had to go. She was the office nurse for a physician. And I don't know how I wound up there, but I had to have a physical. And so I go there, and she meets me, and she says, I'm Barbara, go down to room 3, take off all your clothes, and I'll be right there. And she never showed up, and almost caught pneumonia down there doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, the nurses, they don't tell the truth. You got to watch out believing what a nurse going to tell you.
Uh-huh.
And
so what happened? You're not still there, are you? No.
Well, yeah, I go back there quite a bit. Virtual reality,
Yeah,
sort of
same doctor's office.
Yeah, yeah. I go back there and I replay that a lot.
Uh-huh.
Well, anyway, yeah, I thought this was a pretty nice lady, so I started going on about going out to dinner, and that started it, and we wound up getting married, and she's been saving my life ever since.
Mm-hmm.
She managed to encourage me to attend church more often than I was. And it's been nothing but good since then.
That's great.
She saved my life a couple of times.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
But you're happy.
Yeah, wasn't it those guys from Louisiana that were happy? What were that bunch?
I don't know. I don't watch that stuff.
What was it? That show was called? I don't know. Anyway.
I don't know. I can't help you.
It was funny. It was on TV for a good while, and we used to watch it because they were funny,
And they were from Louisiana.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah,
But then you got interested in airplanes.
Yes, I did, and wound up buying an airplane, and we would use it to go up to visit Barbara's daughter in Chattanooga, and it sure did beat I-75. Boy, it did. And we also used it to go over to Louisiana to visit the family over there.
Your family?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Barbara, first time we went back there after we got married, she didn't like the place at all.
Yeah.
No. So.
Still swamps, is it? Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I don't blame her. I mean, holy crap.
Yeah.
Did you have a rattlesnake for lunch or something?
Oh, those Cajun back there, they eat anything that moves. I mean, if it moves, it's in danger.
Yeah.
Because it's going to get eaten. And so she was a bit leery about the food to eat, but I think she managed a little bit, I don't think she was ever really comfortable back in there.
Well, you had your time growing up in Louisiana and Washington, and you spent your time, you did your duty in Korea, and once you got out, you did all kinds of things, and ended up
bad things.
Yeah, but that's okay. I mean, we just skip over those, and then you ended up back here in Florida.
Yes.
And then, most recently, you had, maybe except for Mary and Barbara, one of the nicest things in your whole life.
Absolutely.
By participating in the honor flight.
The honor flight. And I would like to say at this point that any veterans that happen to be watching this program, I would really encourage them to put their name on the list to go and enjoy honor flight. What they do is they will fly you up to Baltimore, and then they will bus you down into Washington to visit the memorials down there. And it's a day down there, and about 6 o'clock, I guess, we leave to come back to St. Petersburg. That's where we left out of. And it was an incredible experience, absolutely. I mean, it was something. And
where does a veteran put his name on this list? You said they put their name on it. How do you do that?
Well, you can. I got it off the internet. At their website, they have an application that you can download and fill out and send in.
So you just go to Honor Flight?
Honor Flight, and that's how you can do that.
Well, I want to know more about why it was so good and so meaningful to you.
Well, because I have 2 sons and a sister that live up there, and when they heard what was going on, they met me there at the airport.
Yeah. What do your sons do?
Well, my oldest one, Ralph, he's the. What happens is they have a motorcycle escort for the buses down into D.C. at the memorials, and my son Ralph, he's been the escort leader with Honor Flight for many years, and he was just so delighted that he could escort the bus with his dad in there.
His dad.
And what they did, they allowed me to be in the very first bus in the very first seat, so I could watch him all the way.
And your younger son?
Yeah, he was in the escort as well.
Yeah.
My oldest son, Ralph, he has 2 motorcycles, so the younger son used the other motorcycle, and yeah, it was about about six motorcycles, and yeah, I think it was about 6. And they moved the traffic out of the way, and the buses just right on down the road, and yeah, it was good.
And then they gave you sea rations in there?
I think they might have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a box of stuff they gave us, and thank goodness I can't remember what was in it. But anyway, that was supposed to keep you from starvation. But as you can see, I didn't need that. Yeah. You know, I got a little, like the camels, I got a little extra stuff here to tide me over.
And you enjoyed just the thrill of going to all of the Washington sites.
If any Korean veteran would ever get to D.C. to see the Korean Memorial,
right?
Boy, it is one. I mean, it is one sobering sight to see. It's the only memorial that has actually composed of figures in the squad formation, like when we were going through doing what we did over in Korea, you know, and it was really that was a moving experience there.
Yeah.
And it's, to me, it's the most fantastic memorial of the bunch.
Yeah. And then you had to come home.
Yeah, and of course, you know, my oldest son being the escort leader for the honor flight. I mean, he would escort sometimes like 3 honor flights a week, and he got to know all the people down there. You know, when you get off the bus and you go into the main memorial area, you know, they have some. I guess they referred to them as dignitaries, but they were just retired military people. And there was one, he was an admiral, and he was good friends with my son Ralph. Got to know him, and we got up in there, and he yelled, he said, "Hey Sam, I got my dad today," and he says, "Oh yeah, bring him over here." So we took some pictures together, and you know, and I hadn't seen my sister in, Lord, I don't know how long. So that was an experience to. She got to push me around in a wheelchair, and she thought that was great because, you know, she's my little sister, and she alleges that I wasn't that nice to her, but that's not true.
Yeah.
But she said, now I get a chance to push my brother around.
Yeah.
So instead of him.
Did she do wheelies with you and stuff like that?
Well, she tried to,
Yeah.
but I put a stop to that.
And you have a photo, I know you have a photo of all the guys who were on that particular honor flight.
Oh yeah, what they do is they take, that's one of the first things they do when you get out into the memorial area, is they line up everybody and they take a big picture, and every veteran is assigned an escort, every one of them.
Good.
And so there's 80 veterans on the flight, and also 80 escorts. And the escort is to be your constant companion, and if you need some water, you know, that's his job to go get it. And he's instructed never to leave the veteran alone, never. And so there was a little conflict now and then with my sister wanting me to push me around instead of him. So he says, "Stop doing that, I'm going to get in trouble." You know?
Couldn't they arm wrestle or something for, you know, to decide who?
Well, no, it's I guess it's just, you know, the natural chivalry of due to the ladies. You know, he
But we should tell the audience that you are in a wheelchair sometimes.
all the time.
Well, almost all the time. You don't sleep in a wheelchair, do you?
I have.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's,
Okay. But I mean, you can.
But I have a.
But you are capable of standing up and.
Oh yes, you know, I can stand for a short period, not very long, and I can walk for a short distance, but not very far.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So,
okay.
And
But at least you still have 2 legs. That's better than having none.
oh yes, I got 2 arms, and you know,
So,
I've
And
only
then-
got.
But tell me about when you came home, because that was something else that you really, when you came back to St. Petersburg.
Oh, with the honor flight.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That was really something else. They had, I guess, a couple hundred people in that airport, all lined up. And as we came off the airplane, we had to walk down this line with all these people waving their flags and shaking your hand and hollering good stuff at you. And it was just something to see.
Yeah.
And
And you received special awards and.
oh yeah, they had a little carry bag with all kind of stuff in it that they gave you on the return flight coming back.
Yeah.
And let's see, I'm trying to think what
Is that where you got the emblem for Old Baldy? Or no, am I way off base?
Oh no, that was over in Korea. The division commander gave our unit that.
Okay, got it.
As recognition for. Yeah. It was a horrible, bloody job.
Yeah.
Getting that hill back.
Yeah. And you did as for Korea, you did have several ribbons, but they're not here.
Oh yes, they are.
Oh, they are.
Yeah, they're on that disc I gave you.
Oh, the photo. The photo, so that the audience.
The photo of the box.
Okay, so the audience will be able to see.
Oh yeah, in fact, the photo was so good it was better than bringing the box itself.
Okay, good.
So
no, that's fine. I just didn't know that because I didn't get to see your, the last photos that you brought. So.
Well, you're not supposed to.
But that's okay. I know.
You're not supposed to see.
I'm not supposed to see anything. No. Well, when it's all over, and it's not over. I mean, you've got a long way to go. But when you look back, what were your feelings about the Army?
Well, like a stupid kid, I'm like 20 years old, and with the herd mentality, back in those days, all you heard was, this rotten, no good Army, can't wait to get out of this Army, and that was really the first big mistake that I made in my life, was getting out of the Army. Here I am, I'm 20 years old, right? Mm-hmm. And I had a rank of E7.
Put that in some other terms. What's an E7?
Oh, and I'm wrong. It was E6, Sergeant First Class.
Sergeant First Class.
Yeah. They only had E7 at that time, which was a Master Sergeant, but now they've got all these weird ranks and grades, E10, E12, I don't know, all that stuff. Yeah. But it was very simple back then, and
it was.
And I had a job there at Fort Bragg, at an armored artillery battalion, and the battalion commander, he was just. He was all for his NCOs, and we had a lot of problem with what we called shave tails, which were second lieutenants that got their rank from ROTC in college, and they weren't very, very well received or liked. And battalion commander, he didn't like them. But they had this propensity to go and exercise their authority. I'm the big officer now, So the battalion commander told us, he got all the NCOs in his office, and he says, I want you to understand that between me and thee, there is no chain of command. If one of those guys gives you a hard time, you come right to me, and I will set him straight. So, yeah, I should have stayed in that unit. It was a good.
Do you think all young people should go into the military?
Absolutely. I mean, look at what's going on in the streets out here today. No discipline, no responsibility, no nothing. Well,
yeah.
But I've heard, though, that the military isn't all that great today either, so who knows? But
yeah.
it would still be good training. I think that they all, like what is it? Israel requires you to go into the military.
Yeah.
And as well as the women, you got to go.
Or at least serve America in some which way. That's what I would like.
Yeah.
And of course, because we are the same age.
Hey,
no, we're not the same age. That's wrong. We're not. Gene is 2 months older than me.
I am not.
You are two. You were born in June of 1935, and I was born in August of 1935. So that means
I told you wrong. I wasn't. No.
Oh, now what do you?
I was born in 1955.
Yeah, right. You were born in 1955. Yeah, when you got out of the Navy.
No, you were in the Navy. I was in the Army.
Navy.
Yeah.
But I didn't get to Korea. I lived on Guam, and that's where many of the guys coming home from Korea went through Guam. But
you're out there with all those
Gene,
those Guam
I know
ladies, huh?
that this has been fun, but it's time we get to a close for today.
Really, I don't want to close up tonight.
No, you don't want to close up. Oh, poor baby. We got to close up.
Yeah, I want to keep these guys working for another hour.
I know. We're going to close. Sorry.
Well,
there are nearly 38,000 active duty American soldiers stationed in Korea today to help maintain peace. Currently, there remain more than 7,800 American soldiers still unaccounted for from the time that the North Koreans returned bodies to us for identification. Our military lost more than 36,000 total. Another 103,000 were wounded in action. South Korea lost 207,000 military and about 1 million civilians. North Korea lost 406,000 military and about 600,000 civilians. China, it is estimated that they lost 600,000 military. The Korean War should never be remembered as the forgotten war. That concludes our program for today. I want to thank our special guest, Gene Brignac, for being with us. I thank the entire staff of METV for making this show possible. Most of all, I want to thank you, our audience, for taking time to watch our show. God bless each and every one of our service members, and God bless America. Thank you.